Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, what was the name of that actor in the Visa commercials with the security agents?
Samuel L. Jackson.
No, not that commercial. The one with the guy from the airplane movies.
What? What airplane movies?
You know, he was a cop.
Pretty sure it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Never mind, I'll just look it up on Google. No, that's not rice. Visa commercial. Oh, protection. Hollywood. No. Maybe it was videos. Videos. It had something to do with the Secret Service. This is so frustrating. There must be a better way. You need the Google chip. And the stress of arguing with your wife. You know she's right anyway. Don't get into those awkward social situations. Just a very minor surgical operation. The chip simply attaches to the back of your neck. Now, with the Google chip, you have the power of the internet search right in your hand. Honey? Oh, wait, never mind. Right, Leslie Nielsen. Order yours today.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this article are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of my employer. Examples of analysis and code used within this presentation are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real-world products as they should be considered as based on limit and possibly dated open source information. Assumptions made within this presentation are not reflective of the position of any private or government entity to which the author is presently employed.
Today from Geek Wisdom, how machines think. Okay, so the Google chip isn't real. And until it becomes real, we're still going to have to type our questions into little web page boxes or talk into our favorite assistant, whether that be Siri or the Google Assistant or Alexa. And as long as we do this, these machines are going to have to try to understand what it is we're looking for. And we're going to have problems getting those searches to work. So today's session, we're going to talk about why searching doesn't always work the way you think, why you can't always get the results that you're looking for. And to do that, we're going to delve a little bit into what's happening behind the scenes and how you can use that knowledge of what happens behind the scenes to make your searching faster and give you a little bit of an edge when you're trying to find something online. So the first thing to understand is machines don't understand the English language. They don't understand any human language. They don't speak like you and I do. And the reason for that is pretty simple to explain. Let's think about this sentence. I saw a man on a hill with a telescope. Now you might read that and you say, okay, that seems like a pretty simple sentence. Why would that be so hard to understand? Well, human language is full of ambiguity. What does that sentence really mean? I saw a man on a hill with a telescope. Does that mean that you were looking through a telescope and you seen a man and he was on a hill? Or could it mean that you were on the hill with the telescope looking through it and you seen a man? Or maybe you were on the hill with the telescope, you weren't doing anything with the telescope, but you happened to see a man. Or even still, maybe you were looking at a man and he was on a hill and also on that hill was a telescope. So you can see a very simple sentence like, I saw a man on a hill with a telescope can have so many different meanings. And to have a machine understand what it is you're talking about is not impossible, but very complicated. So we cheat. The way we get around this fuzziness is to write a language that the computer does understand, what we call a programming language. Unlike a human language, programming languages have a very strict set of rules. We don't allow for ambiguity. You tell the machine what to do in a very simple grammar, in a very simple structure. So basically, you give it a command, and you might give it operators to modify how that command works. So you think of this as a command and an operator or a verb like open door. There's not many different ways to tell the machine to open the door. You just say open door or turn light off or turn light on. And a very simple command would be to print the word hello, where you would say print hello. So in programming, we just have these very simple commands and operators. Okay, but you might ask yourself, how does this help me? So come back to the idea of that Google search window. Google is sitting there waiting for you to type something into this box. And it really wants you to speak to it in its own language. Now, over the years, Google has gotten better at trying to understand what you're typing and trying to bring back results that are relevant to what you're looking for, but it really wants you to type in the language that it understands with a set of commands, telling it what to do. And I want you to think that anytime you see a little flashing cursor in a little box, it's really just waiting for you to know what those correct commands are to get you the information that you're looking for. And this comes way back to the old days of before Windows, before graphical operating systems. We would have these prompts, these command line interfaces where the geeks in us would have to type the programs, type the commands, and it was very hard for the general public to adopt. So we built all of these graphics, all of these point and click interfaces to make things easier for users. But at the end of the day, it still just comes down to a little flashing box waiting for us to enter a command. So in this case, I'm going to show you the advanced search of Google. If I were to do a Google search for Google Advanced Search, you can see a much more detailed list of how I want to search for things. So see how it says all of these words, this exact word or phrase, any of these words, and then you can narrow it down by your language or your region, when something was updated, things that only occurred on a certain page. So this is where the real power comes in, where it's really looking for those commands. So let's say I'm trying to find that example, like given in the beginning of the promo. Who was the person that was in that commercial? From the advanced search screen, I can say, well, what are the words that are involved? Well, I know it's a TV ad, and I know it was about Visa, and it had something to do with security. I also know that it had nothing to do with Samuel L. Jackson. So I want to exclude that. I also can remember that he was in the movie Airplane. So maybe if the word airplane is in it, that might help. And I know that the video played in Canada. Oh, and also he was a comedian. Comedian, funny guy. Or I think that it might have taken place in Hollywood, things like that. So this allows me to refine my search details. So now when I do the search, I get results back that are more relevant to the type of thing that I'm looking at. I can say, oh, there's this one here about a Visa security ad. Oh, right, it was Leslie Nielsen. Okay, so now let's look at an example of an advanced image search. So I'm going to say Google Advanced Image Search. Now, one of the nice things about advanced image search is a lot of times people do searches in images and they grab an image and they repost it, and there's possible concerns about copyright and who owned the image and where the image was attribution. So I like to use Google Advanced Image Search when I want to find images that I know that I'm free to share with others. So if I wanted to find one, for example, of Bill Gates, I could say search for the word Bill Gates, and then I can look under this section here, user rights, and I can say filter only ones that I'm allowed to use or share with others. And then I know that these are images that when I click on them will have a license associated with them that allows me to reuse that image for a given quote. Now for the real geeks out there, we don't really need to go to the advanced search. There's different operators that you can type in the Google search menu itself that will do these sort of things for you. So if you type all in title or file type or all in URL, these will search for specific things. So if I were to say, for example, all in title, oh, Donald Trump, then I will only get back messages where Donald Trump is in the title of the message. I could, by the way, use the operator @ which tells it to search social media. So I could do social media for @True Geek Wisdom and then get back social media things about True Geek Wisdom. Or I could use the operator site if I want to limit my search results to a specific site. So sometimes you might have your favorite site that you want to look at, and you want to make sure that you search that site, but it doesn't have a search engine of its own. So suppose your site is snoops.com, and you want to search on snoops.com KFC, not chicken. Then you'll get back just results from snoops.com. So you'll see all the results say snoops.com, 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 and different articles that are true or false about KFC. Let's put this all together and put some fun stuff with it. And before I do this, a word of warning. There are bad people out there on the internet. Their goal is to get at your machine, whether by putting viruses on your machine or accessing your machine and using your machine for bad purposes. So once I show you this, it's going to give you some great powers to do some very interesting things. And you need to use that power very wisely, because if you're not careful, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But let's put it all together. Let's suppose that I go to Google and I type something like this. So here I'm saying I want to find the Hunger Games, and it's in quotes, so I'm going to find those two words together. I don't want the URL in URL, so that's the minus, meaning not in URL, to have HTML, and I don't want it to have HTML, meaning I don't want you to return web pages. I want the title to contain the word index of at the top of it. I want there to be the word last modified in it, and I want the file type to be either EPUB or MOBI, so mobile formats that you could use for your coding. So if I did a search for that, what I get back is a bunch of different links containing all these different books that I can click on and have access to. Now you can extend on this idea. Suppose, for example, I wanted to see Game and I want it to be MOV or MP4 or AVI. Then we'd have different files here. Again, you need to be very careful using this power, but it's just to give you an example. One final example I'll give you. Suppose up here, this said, give you up. And my last modified, I changed to MP3. We have some MP3s from a couple of songs. Okay, so let's take a minute and review. Machines can't think. They're not conscious. They don't have any intelligence. They appear to, because over time we've gotten better at figuring out human language, looking for different keywords and trying to figure out what the user wants back. Google has gotten particularly good at that, and we become so used to typing things in Google searches, we kind of expect Google to understand English, but machines really can't understand any human language because it's too complex. When you see a prompt on a screen anywhere, it's basically waiting for you to type something that it understands in a very simple format, which usually involves a command and some sort of parameters or operators that do something. And if you know and you find out and you play around to determine what those specific commands and parameters are, you end up discovering that you have great power over making the machine, or in this case Google, do what it is that you want.